When you see Rosedene farm eggs in Tesco's or Woodside farm chicken, you probably think it comes from a British farm. Wrong. Those farms are completely fake and invented for marketing purposes and consumer manipulation. Tesco alone operates 7 fake farm brands, and they're extracting £600 million annually from British shoppers who think they're supporting real farmers. The Woodside Farm betrayal. Let me start with the farmer they destroyed. His name is Richard Bohr, and for over 20 years he's been raising free-range pigs on Woodside Farm in Nottinghamshire. His pork carries Red Tractor certification. His farm is real. You can visit it. His family built their reputation on quality, on animal welfare, on doing things properly. Then Tesco decided they wanted his farm's name. Not his pork, not his partnership, just his name. They launched a new pork brand called Woodside Farms to replace their budget range, wrapped it in pastoral imagery with rolling hills and red tractors, and started selling pork from Denmark, the Netherlands, and intensive UK operations that looked nothing like Richard's farm. Customers started asking Richard if he supplied Tesco. They'd see Woodside Farms in the supermarket and assume it was his. Except it wasn't. His farm's reputation became tangled with products he had nothing to do with. So Richard did what you'd expect an honest farmer to do. He threatened legal action. He partnered with charity Feedback, and they sent Tesco a letter explaining how the company was profiting from his farm's name while misleading consumers about where their meat actually came from. Tesco's CEO responded with breathtaking arrogance, telling reporters that customers were marketing savvy enough to understand one farm couldn't supply all of Tesco. But here's the part that shows you exactly how powerless British farmers have become. The lawsuit never happened. The legal fees alone would have bankrupted his farm. So instead, he changed his own farm's name. He rebranded his meat box scheme as Boff's Hogs, just to differentiate from Tesco's fictional brand. Tesco won completely, and as of November 2025, Woodside Farms brand still sits on Tesco shelves, selling pork from across Europe under a name stolen from a British farmer who couldn't afford to defend it. Richard isn't alone. Roger Sharpley owns the real Boswell Farm. Tesco took his name too for their Boswell Farms beef brand, which includes Irish and Dutch meat alongside British. Roger told reporters it's an abuse of power, that supermarkets think they can get away with tricks like this because they're too big to fight. He said if the boot was on the other foot, Tesco's lawyers would be all over it. He's absolutely right. But Roger can't sue either. None of them can. The system is designed to protect the supermarkets, not the farmers. Tesco's fake farm empire is breathtaking. They operate 7 fictional farm brands right now. Woodside Farms for pork from multiple countries, Willow Farms for chicken, and this one has a particularly disgusting story attached to it. Willow Farms chicken is supplied by Avara Foods, owned by American multinational Cargill. That operation is connected to the River Wye pollution crisis that's been devastating one of Britain's most beautiful rivers. We're talking about 23 million chickens at any one time, producing waste that's turned the river toxic. Investigative journalists traced Willow Farms chicken to Brazilian deforestation, where birds are fed on soya from the destruction of 300 square miles of savanna. That's what's behind the Farm Fresh label. Industrial-scale environmental catastrophe. Boswell Farms beef mixes British with Irish and Dutch. Nightingale Farms sells salad vegetables and tomatoes. They named it after nightingales, birds that are rare in the UK. And they're sourcing from intensive Spanish polytunnel operations covered in plastic. Redmere Farms and Rosedene Farms cover various produce from mixed origins. Suntrail Farms explicitly markets imported fruit like lemons and oranges. Then there's Bay Fishmongers for fish, another fictional entity. These brands appear in over 2/3 of Tesco customer baskets. That's not a niche problem, that's systematic deception, touching millions of shopping trips every single week. Charity Feedback awarded Tesco their Total Bull Prize for unflinching commitment to fake farm branding. Tesco's CEO defended the practice, stating the brands represent quality specifications, not origin. Let me translate that for you. It means they're using British farm imagery to sell you imported products while pocketing the premium you're willing to pay for supporting British agriculture. A business professor from Imperial College explained Tesco's calculation perfectly. He said for Tesco, using fake farm brands has worked out really well in terms of securing the lower end of the market against competition from discount retailers. In other words, it's profitable. Your trust is profitable. Your desire to support British farmers is profitable. And they're monetizing it without actually supporting a single British farmer. But Tesco isn't the only one. Aldi operates Ashfield Farm for chicken, beef, pork, lamb, and cooked chicken slices, all featuring Union Jack branding. The company promised years ago to source only British meat, and they've made massive investments into British suppliers. £3 billion into British beef and £750 million into a UK fruit farm. Yet they still maintain the fictional farm brand name. Why? Because the brand is worth more than transparency. Lidl's story gets even more bizarre. Chicken labelled Strathvale Farm with "reared with care by Scottish farmers" right there in the product description. Lidl was forced to apologise and rapidly remove what they called outdated web pages. They claimed they fully removed farm from branding 5 years ago following customer feedback. Except, clearly, they didn't. The deception runs so deep they can't even keep track of their own lies. The Union Jack doesn't mean British. Now, let me show you how the Union Jack became worthless as a guarantee of British origin, because this is where it gets genuinely dangerous to public health. British consumers use the Union Jack as a shortcut for identifying British produce. 60% of shoppers actively look for the flag to support British farmers. What most don't realise is that current UK labelling regulations create a massive loophole. Products can legally display the Union Jack even if entirely imported, as long as country of origin appears somewhere on the packaging in small print, and the product was packed or processed in the UK. Let that sink in. Packed in UK means it can be 100% foreign with a British flag on front. Here's a recent example that shows exactly how this works. Polish egg imports to the UK increased 2,000% in just 2 years. 2,000%. This surge happened during the UK egg crisis, when British farmers were threatening to quit production over supermarket prices that made operations unviable. Instead of paying British farmers fairly, supermarkets turned to Poland. Most of those Polish eggs came from caged systems that are largely banned in the UK. And then, during a major salmonella outbreak traced directly to imported Polish eggs, Polish authorities found salmonella at several sites supplying eggs to the UK. But the imports kept flowing because they were cheaper than paying British producers a fair price. The pattern repeats with chicken. Thailand exports approximately 200,000 tonnes of cooked chicken to the EU annually. UK imports around 1,200 tonnes for processed products. Thai poultry costs 40% less than British chicken. 40%. Thailand has no animal welfare laws equivalent to UK standards. The chicken is often water injected to bulk up weight. Tesco, Asda, Iceland and Birdseye all use Thai chicken in ready meals, wraps, sandwiches and frozen products. It's disclosed in small print if you know where to look. But on the front of the pack, British-looking branding, British prices, and Tesco pockets the entire 40% margin difference. Spanish vegetable imports dominate your winter diet. 90% of UK winter salad leaves are produced in southeast Spain. Tomato imports from Spain reached over 100,000 tonnes recently. Tesco's Nightingale Farms tomatoes, from a fictional farm named after rare British birds, typically come from intensive Spanish polytunnel production. Country of origin is buried in tiny text on the back. The front shows pastoral British imagery. You pay British premium. Tesco sources Spanish discount. You lose, they win. New Zealand lamb is perhaps the most brazen example. It holds approximately 70% of total UK lamb imports and sells £2.50 to £5 per kilo cheaper at wholesale than British lamb. In February this year, New Zealand lamb was 23% cheaper wholesale, but only 12% cheaper in stores. That means supermarkets pocketed the 11% price difference. Waitrose sells New Zealand lamb rack at £30.99 per kilo versus £20.99 per kilo for Welsh lamb. Same profit margin on both. Morrison's broke its pledge to sell only British lamb and now stocks New Zealand lamb in 39 stores, citing commercial reality. Commercial reality means it's more profitable to lie. Why no one stops them. So why hasn't anyone stopped them? Why haven't trading standards shut this down? Why hasn't the Food Standards Agency intervened? Here's the answer that should make you furious. When consumers were surveyed, 70% objected to fake farm branding. 70%. The National Farmers Union filed a formal complaint with National Trading Standards. Their survey found 60% of consumers who believed farm labels were UK-sourced would feel misled discovering otherwise. That was nearly a decade ago. Since then, there have been 0 fines, 0 prosecutions, 0 enforcement actions against any supermarket for fake farm branding. None. Trading Standards responded to the NFU complaint by saying they would find it difficult to persuade a judge that fictional names suggest a clear geographical origin to the purchaser if country of origin is marked on packs. Let me translate that. It means as long as country of origin appears somewhere on the packaging, even in tiny print you need reading glasses to see, supermarkets can use any British-sounding fictional name they want, with all the pastoral imagery they want, and it's technically legal. The consumer protection from unfair trading regulations prohibit misleading consumers about product origin, but regulators have decided fictional farm names are brands as opposed to geographical locations. Between then and November 2025, not a single supermarket has been fined or sanctioned. The Competition and Markets Authority got new powers in April this year, allowing them to directly enforce consumer protection laws without going to court, with fines up to 10% of global turnover. Now, let me show you why the certification you trust is worthless. When British consumers see the red tractor logo, most assume it guarantees high animal welfare, outdoor access, small-scale British farming. The reality is, red tractor standards are only slightly above legal minimum. They permit practices most consumers would find shocking. Tail docking of piglets without pain relief, teeth clipping and grinding of pigs, castration of lambs without pain relief, de-beaking of chickens, farrowing crates that prevent mother sows from turning around for weeks, zero grazing of dairy cows, meaning they never go outside, high-density indoor chicken farming, fast-growing chicken breeds with skeletal collapse, and maceration, which means grinding alive or gassing of day-old male chicks. Between recently and now, animal welfare organisations investigated 26 red tractor certified farms. They found violations at all of them. All 26. The pattern is identical every time. Farms pass red tractor inspections, then undercover investigators reveal horrors. Hall Farm in Norfolk housed female pigs in illegal sow stalls that have been banned since 1999. Red Tractor inspected the farm after they were alerted, but before the BBC broadcast the footage. The farm passed inspection. Only after the broadcast reached millions of viewers was the farm suspended. Hogwood Farm in Warwickshire was investigated 4 times, described as a hellhole, with pigs living in filth. 3 Red Tractor chicken farms investigated this year revealed chickens with red raw skin, dead and alive birds crammed in overcrowded sheds, bin bags full of dead birds, staff breaking birds' necks and leaving them to convulse for minutes. Staff deliberately stepping on and kicking birds, birds thrown against walls, and many birds unable to stand, trapped on backs or sides, starving. All 3 farms were Red Tractor certified when the footage was taken. A 10-month undercover investigation at one of the UK's largest pig producers, supplying Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's and Morrisons, documented piglets grabbed by hind legs and smashed onto floors to kill them. Red Tractor suspended the farm, but controversially criticised the animal rights group for delay in reporting, suggesting activists prioritised ideology over protecting animal welfare. That's their defence. Blame the investigators, not the certified farm smashing piglets to death. Recently, 779 Red Tractor members had certifications suspended and 53 had certification revoked in just 3 months. A Freedom of Information request revealed that 60% of inspected Red Tractor farms breached environmental regulations, with over 19,000 instances of violation covering water pollution, waste management and chemical storage. The inspection system's fundamental flaws explain these systematic failures. Unannounced visits constitute only 0.08% of inspections. Farmers can opt out of unannounced visits. Farmers pay for their own inspections and can choose which private certification company visits them. That's a clear conflict of interest. Most farms are inspected once per year. 3 major UK supermarkets told campaigners that they see Red Tractor merely as a baseline standard, which offers no guarantees beyond confirming that farmers are sticking to national pesticide laws and regulations. One supermarket staff member added that Red Tractor audits continue to focus on old issues, like checking spray records. But the future of farming is moving away from chemical controls, and Red Tractor does not appear to be taking account of these changes. Even the Tenant Farmers Association voted no confidence in Red Tractor's executive board, stating members don't have confidence in Red Tractor due to ratcheting up of standards without providing value to farmers and lack of openness in how standards are set. The certification you trust is worthless. It certifies almost nothing, and supermarkets know it. The extinction event. Here's what all of this is building toward. British farming is facing an extinction event. 61% of farmers fear losing their farm within the next 18 months. 64% of British fruit and vegetable farmers report their farm is at financial risk, up from 49% just 1 year ago. 30% of all farm types are making a loss across their business, with 40% of mixed farms operating at losses. Farm business income is in catastrophic decline. The basic payment scheme, which provided 40% of farm profits on average, is being eliminated between now and the end of the decade. That represents an estimated £20,000 per farm loss. Let me give you real examples of the pressure farmers face. A farmer is paid 16 pence per lettuce head. When harvest comes during a supermarket promotion, the price drops to 6 pence, and the farmer absorbs the entire loss. Organic oats are rejected for wrong colour, and the farmer pays haulage to return them. One farmer reported receiving less than 1 pence profit from produce after supermarket deductions. Fake farm branding compounds this crisis by allowing supermarkets to capture the premium you're willing to pay for British produce without actually paying British farmers. Thai chicken costs 40% less than British to source, yet sells at British prices. Supermarkets capture the entire 40% margin difference. New Zealand lamb is £2.50 to £5 per kilo cheaper at wholesale, yet recently was only 12% cheaper retail, when it should have been 23% cheaper. Supermarkets pocketed the 11% difference. If fake farm brands represent an estimated £3 billion market segment that should go to British farmers, at average farm income of £25,000, that represents potential market for 120,000 farm businesses. British farmers are losing an estimated £500 million to £1 billion annually in market share to deceptively branded imports. Britain is now only 60% self-sufficient in all food, down from over 75% in the 1980s. Fresh vegetable self-sufficiency has reached 53%, the lowest level since records began in 1988. The UK produces only 16 to 17% of consumed fruit. Wheat self-sufficiency dropped to a projected 68% this year from a 92% average. Total food imports reached £64 billion, 36% higher than pre-Brexit. Spain provides 26% of UK fresh produce imports. 90% of winter salad leaves come from Spain. The UK is heavily reliant on specific countries for specific products, creating massive supply chain vulnerabilities. And 95% of UK food is sold through just 10 retailers, giving supermarkets enormous power over both farmers and consumers. Real farmers cannot compete with Polish eggs from banned cage systems during salmonella outbreaks, Thai chicken from welfare-free intensive operations, Spanish vegetables from plastic-covered industrial polytunnels. Supermarkets use fake farm branding to have it both ways. Cheap imported products sold at British prices with British imagery, capturing premiums while destroying the domestic farming sector. Within 18 months, on current trajectory, a significant portion of British farms will cease to exist, and when they're gone, you'll be entirely dependent on imported food from countries with lower welfare standards, longer supply chains, and zero accountability. That's not a future. That's a national security crisis. The solution they don't want you to know. But here's what the supermarkets don't want you to know. You have a solution right now that's both cheaper and higher quality. Riverford Organic Farmers is the UK's leading vegetable box scheme, and they're 19.3% cheaper on average than supermarket organic. Let me break that down. 8% cheaper than Tesco, 18% cheaper than Waitrose, 32% cheaper than Sainsbury's. The best Riverford boxes are over 40% cheaper than supermarket equivalents. They offer free delivery across England, Scotland, and Wales. Boxes start at £8.50 to £10.50 for small vegetable boxes, £12 to £15 for medium, and £47.80 for large combined fruit, vegetable, and meat boxes. Riverford is 100% employee-owned. All produce is Soil Association certified organic, which means the most trusted certification in the UK, indicating no pesticides and the highest animal welfare standards. 80% of produce is British annually, and they show you exactly where everything comes from on transparent supplier maps. They have 4.8 out of 5 stars from 20,000 Trustpilot reviews. Recipe cards come with every delivery. They use compostable packaging, and boxes are fully customizable. You can pause or change them up to 48 hours before delivery. Go to riverford.co.uk, enter your postcode to check delivery availability, and choose a box type. That's it. You're supporting real British farms. If you want alternatives, Able & Cole operates similarly at ableandcole.co.uk with boxes from £17.50. First-time customers get 50% off with code VEGBOX25. For farmers markets, the Farm Retail Association maintains a verified directory at farmretail.co.uk covering 1,581 farm shops across Britain where you can buy directly from producers. These aren't suggestions for later. These are actions you can take this week that save you money while supporting the real farmers supermarkets are destroying. And if you're still shopping at supermarkets, here's who you can trust. Co-op and Waitrose don't use fake farm brands. Morrison's publicly pledged never to use them and maintains that commitment, though they controversially reversed their British lamb commitment. For verification, Soil Association certification is the gold standard, far more rigorous than Red Tractor. The Soil Association logo is an orange and brown circle. You can verify certifications at soilassociation.org. Red Tractor means born, reared, and slaughtered in UK for meat. But remember, standards are barely above legal minimum, and 60% of inspected farms breached environmental regulations. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to watch a video like this one, click the video on the screen. Thanks for watching.